right, so DP Photography here, bringing another video, and today we're talking about, well, today we're gonna do something a little bit similar to the last video. I'm gonna get into these comments a little bit. Today's inspiration is from Jeffrey Halford. Hey man, I'd love to see you talk about cameras. I've been using GoPro a lot, been thinking about getting some kind of professional camera. I'd love to see you talk about cameras. Now, I'm a little bit out of breath, and I'm getting ready to go for a little 3-4 mile run. So I'm gonna answer this question, and cameras is something I can talk about all day. I just wasn't sure that you guys were interested in that. Everything's been pretty much Onewheel. So what I will do is I'll talk about cameras, but then I'll talk about the camera that I specifically use on the Onewheel, because there's different levels to it, Right now I'm talking to you on an A7S III, we're shooting 10-bit, it's a lot to go over, so I'll see y'all after my run, all right? Stay tuned. 3 miles in the bucket. Definitely a little bit winded. Go ahead and take me a shower, and I'm gonna come back and talk to you about cameras a little bit. So when I first got an interest for one-wheeling, my buddy rolled up on me on a one-wheel with his camera set up, and it just looked like the coolest thing ever. Immediately, ideas went to sparking. Dolly shots, tracking shots, all different kind of shots that I could do with this one-wheel if I learned it, and it took me some time to actually have that kind of confidence that I can actually use a real camera on the one-wheel, but I can say I'm at that point now. That being said, for the most part, like if I'm using the camera for work, then I'm gonna be using my big boy camera, which is gonna be the Sony A7S III, along with the Ninja V, so I can record in the highest codec or the highest resolution possible. It's a 10-bit camera. It also shoots some really, really beautiful pictures. It's not gonna give you the resolution that this has, but when you're doing portraits, you don't necessarily want the highest resolution. You don't wanna see people's pores or blemishes and things like that. You want smooth, silky looking skin. And that's what you're gonna get out of this nice 10-bit camera. Although it is only 12 megapixels compared to 43. But see, that's where, knowing the most about a camera comes into play. Because each camera has its strengths and its weaknesses. I don't care if it's a Sony, I don't care if it's a Nikon, I don't care if it's a Panasonic, Blackmagic, Red, they all have strengths, they all have weaknesses. And there's a reason why these cameras cost so much. There's a nice lens on there, But, that being said, like I say, when I go out on my one-wheel, I wanna be nice and light, And I actually, in the beginning, I threw out my shoulders, so I couldn't really lift much that was heavy. And, this thing just came in so handy. It's like, if I want to use this as a regular GoPro camera, I can do that. If I want to use this as a drone shot, I can put it up in the air and I can do that. If I want to get cool shots of the one-wheel, I can turn it upside down and I can do that. And what I like to do is I like to swing from one side of the one-wheel over to the other, especially being so low to the ground, because it's gonna give an effect of speed, as you're crossing that ground. You gotta remember that one wheel staying in focus, and the closer you get to it, the gnarlier the moves are gonna look. And that one wheel is gonna stay in focus, and underneath it, that ground is just gonna be moving. It makes for an awesome shot, man. You can catch shots of yourself sideways, front ways, behind, like the possibilities is endless. People say that you don't necessarily need to watch where you point the camera, but that's not true. You want to keep it in a general area of what you want to catch, because you see, it's pretty much, you got to think of a bubble around this is what's in focus. You got two cameras here, 180, 180, making a 360, and it's stitching them together. So whatever's around that. So if I got it up here by my face, I can do like a regular vlog style talk on this camera. And I also have an attachment that goes on here where I can attach my great quality audio mics on here, and it's just perfect. That's why I like the Onewheel so much because you're hands-free and this thing is so light and perfect. And a lot of people like to wear the lens protectors on there, but I've had this thing for some months now and I haven't had a problem for the most part. I'm not like the most careful person, but once I finish using it, I put the cover on. Once I stop using it, I take the cover off. That's all to it. That being said, let's get some shots and then we're gonna take those shots and throw them into the Insta360 app, just to show you what all you can do. Now, one thing that you do need to know about this camera is it has its limitations. It's gonna struggle when it starts to get dark. This thing needs an abundance of light. So in the bright daylight and, right around sunset, you might get some cool shots, but for the most part, it's gonna shine in the bright daylight. All right, so I got my clip inside the Insta360 Go app. As you can see, this is the cool thing about it, reframing and framing. Look how I'm moving that around. Now, the camera, you can see the little thing I'm holding in my hand. That would be the camera, but it's sticking out a little bit forward. I can turn this thing all the way around. I can see in front of me. I can see down. You hit this plus sign, bam. And once you hit that plus sign, you can do anything with this clip. And this is where you're gonna be coming from, and then you're gonna hit another plus sign, and that's where you're going to. In between those two plus signs is gonna be your transition. So, right here, I just hit one. As you can see, it's a little bit crooked. Me, as a professional photographer, I always want my horizon to be straight. From there, I'm gonna play that. It definitely looks pretty good. Boom, so right here, I want to plus again. And this is one of my things right here. So it's gonna work its way to this position. And I want to see my whole body. So it's gonna work its way to that position. And what I'm gonna do is when it works its way to the other side, I'm gonna make that a little bit more evident. Bam, so right there, plus. I wanna plus over here too. And over here, see, I'm gonna make it more extreme. And once again, I can rotate, and I'm actually gonna rotate back down to 0. See that right there, just that little subtle move right there. From over here to over there. Now you can see one side, you can see the tire, you can see everything. And to me, that's pretty cool. Another thing you can do, you can hit a mark right here, hit another mark right here. And what I want that mark to do is turn this into a tiny planet. So bam. And I want to make that tiny planet framed up to where it looks cool for me. Like right now you can see, you can't see my whole body, so that's not really that cool. But if I mess around with it a little bit, check that out. And I could spin this thing, And that transition is gonna happen in between the two pluses. So, go back to the beginning. See in between them two pluses, it goes to my tiny planet. Now I want to let that breathe as a tiny planet for a minute. I'm going to plus it right here, and I'm going to go down a little bit more and plus it again. And this time I'm going to take it back to the default, which is that flat. But not only do I want it to be flat, I want to be able to see me good, This is why framing and reframing is so awesome. Like, boom, that looks kind of good, but as you can see, my horizon is off. And back here, it's a little bit crooked. So what I could do is push it a little bit, not too much, because, and now, a little rotate, bam. So now let's see what that looks like. Boom, goes into that tiny planet, breathe as a tiny planet for a second. Now, boom, transition out of that tiny planet, and then boom, perfectly framed up shot. And now you can see that board looking real nice and gnarly as I like it to look. Like I say, the possibilities is endless. You can hit all these different sizes. You got 1-1, which will be square. You got 1916, which will be an always reframing. Always reframing. Like this app is probably gonna be the most intimidating part of the Insta360. Let me get out of that 916 because that ain't what I like. I like 16:9 because we displaying everything on a TV screen or on a movie screen. See, that's what I like about that Insta360 camera. See, each one of these marks is a plus sign. It's me hitting this plus key over here. And when I hit that plus, I move my camera around to do what I actually want it to do. Like right here, I'm just trying to follow my motions. Going from one side to the other. Just giving that perception of going super fast, man. Look at that ground. That's pretty excellent. Into a tiny planet. Now come out of that tiny planet. That's hard. You feel me? Like that's raw. See the grass in the background, you see that tire spinning, you see the shoes. I mean, I gotta keep my shoes on point. It's like you can get so many different shots with this. Look how I got it in front of me right now. Now I'm moving the camera around. I'm gonna move it around the back of me. Now I can see that bridge in the background. Like that's a raw shot right there. That's excellent. And that's just only half of it, man. Like one of the biggest deals about this is actually the exporting settings. Like you gotta know how to export stuff. And that's where a lot of people mess up at. Now that I got all of these things situated, there's also other things that I could do, like I could hit this button right here, and that's gonna do a deep track. It'll track anything that I click it on. This is another little cool little thing, deep track. I can also, let me stop that from tracking. I can also do speed when I hit this lightning bolt right here. So what I'll do is I'll go to wherever I want it to go to, click that, then it's gonna tell me to move this bar right here to show how much faster I wanted to go. 2 times, 4 times, 6 times, 16 times. 16 to 32 is pretty much good. You know, for me, you know, other people might even wanna go a little bit higher, but that's gonna give you a little bit of a blur when it does the effect. That's pretty cool, man. That's pretty cool. Now, export. You want to hit your export button, come up here, and you can see it's 1920 by 1080. You could go ahead and export this just like it is. It's gonna give you 228 megabytes. Or I could come over here to the 1080, put that at 2160. That's gonna upscale it. Automatically, it went to 3840 by 2160. H.264, me, I'm a ProRes type of guy. Look how I did that. Boom, ProRes. Instead of 228 megabytes, now it's 5.43 gigabytes. A lot more information, a lot more resolution. Is gonna go well with 4K timeline and whatnot. And these are gonna be like the absolute best settings for exporting. Like I say, I just wanted to touch on the subject some. You know, cameras is a big part of my life, and you know, you guys asked for it. So tell me what you think down in the comments. If this is something that you want to see more of, just let me know and I'll shoot more videos about cameras. Otherwise, you know, Onewheel videos will be back on the way very soon. Don't worry, man. DP Photography as always. I want to thank you guys for watching. And if you haven't already, like, subscribe, ring that bell. I'm out.